Hi there. Welcome to this presentation on how sensory processing can affect interaction with others. My name is Ellie Horgan and I'm one of the occupational therapists in a CDNT in North Wicklow. To begin, you can see on your screen here 7 senses that we use every day to interpret and understand the world around us. These are taste, smell, hearing, touch, sight, proprioception, and vestibular. These systems react to stimuli in the environment by various sensors around our body. Those sensors send a message or an impulse to the brain, where that change in the environment is then interpreted and understood. You may be wondering, well, why is our sensory system important for interaction? If you see the pyramid of learning from Williams and Schellenberger, you will see that behaviour, academic learning, and activities of daily living are at the top. That's what we as humans want to achieve and do in our daily lives. We need to have a solid foundation at the base of the pyramid to get to that. And the base of this pyramid is made of the central nervous system and the 7 senses. These senses need to be regulated before we can move up the pyramid. Therefore, if we want to interact with others, it is so important that our sensory system is regulated. As an exercise, I want you to imagine a time you felt unwell. When we are unwell, upset, anxious, or irritated, our sensory systems respond very differently. When you were ill, you were probably less likely to tolerate conversation, let alone challenging conversations or conversations about a topic you weren't interested in. Consider how you would change the environment to facilitate easier conversations. You may have wanted peace and quiet. You may have wanted to dim the lights. You may only want to speak to one person at a time. The sensory environment can have a big influence on our ability to interact. To further explore the influence of the environment on social interaction, I would like you to consider the following sensory environments and how the environments would affect your interactions. In a loud or dark pub, you may speak louder or lean in closer to hear people. You may miss what people are saying to you. Speaking in a group is also more challenging. Reading lips and facial expressions may also be harder. Compare this to speaking in a quiet library. There's little competing noise, it's brightly lit, there tends to be fewer people too. And if you do need to interact with someone, there's less sensory stimuli to compete with. On top of the sensory environment, you also have to consider the unwritten, neurotypical social expectations in each environment. Imagine you didn't know these rules, and there's no book that has them, and then you're asked to navigate them. The neurotypical social expectations of an exam hall are very different to a busy office. On your screen, you can see environmental factors that support interaction. These were provided by neurodiverse young people. They include being outdoors, going to places where they feel accepted for who they are, doing activities with others where there is no competitive element, having open access to quiet spaces where they can have time to themselves if needed in a busy environment, doing smaller group activities, having access to lunchtime clubs at school if they choose to, and creating opportunities for focused individual activities that they can do alongside peers if they choose to. There's also knowing what our young person's sensory preference is and adapting the activities to make them accessible, creating opportunities for young people to develop independent skills around their planning and organisation skills for going to activities, such as using a productive app or a use of timetables or calendars. Each individual person will have a preference, and keeping new activities short and reading the young person's cues about how they may be feeling or if they need a break. Now that you have considered the environments and sensory needs for neurodiverse interaction, how would you go about engaging with them? It may be a good idea to start by engaging in activities or topics that the neurodiverse person is interested in. It can be helpful to allow a neurodiverse person to engage in the topic of interest and engage with them, trying not to pull them away immediately. Allow them that time to engage in that activity that they are hyper-focused in and is a monotropic topic that they love discussing. Then You may want to offer visual support to indicate the next activity and give them some time to process this information. For example, if a child is in a flow state with focusing on a colouring activity, you might want to join in gently by copying them alongside them. Then show them a visual support to let them know what's happening next and give them extra time to process that information. Here you can see some of the positives of autism. It is equally important to recognise that neurodiversity brings a host of strengths and skills that neurotypical people may not have. This includes improved sensory sensitivity, such as super smellers, recalling incredible facts about interests, being able to focus for long periods of time on a topic or an activity that interests them, and seeing the world in a unique and interesting, different way. Something we are often asked about is how to support children to develop their confidence and self-esteem. A factor which can influence and promote the development of confidence is that of self-acceptance of both strengths and needs. As communication partners, we need to support children to reframe their needs and to promote interactions with peers with similar strengths to promote a sense of belonging or finding a tribe. Encourage your child to engage in activities they enjoy, possibly with other neurodiverse children. It can be useful to tap into your child's interests and enthusiasms to develop friendships with others that have similar interests. For example, in a local school, we watched YouTube videos together and chatted about them. We shared jokes and news, or worked together to create Lego or a poster. At home or in the community, this may look like attending a local club with other neurodiverse people or playing online video games with their peers. Leaving this webinar today, I'd like you to consider what types of environments help your child to participate in activities they enjoy, and how can you replicate this more frequently? How can you tap into their interests and enthusiasms to develop friendships and confidence? How can you support their sensory needs to improve participation and belonging? We have come to the end of this webinar. Thank you for listening. Our next presenter will be Anya, a speech and language therapist. Anya will be discussing how you and your young person can develop self-advocacy skills.